Hey, party people, welcome to Honest Trailer Commentaries, the show that's about our show where we talk about other shows. I'm Joe Starr. That's Lon Harris. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, we gave Spencer J. Gilbert the day off, so we're going to be here talking about the Evil Dead Trilogy and the Honest Trailer for it. And then we'll get some questions, comments from viewers like you, and then at the end of the show, we'll give you a hint for next week's Honest Trailer. Also, maybe there's some deleted stuff. I'm not sure. I've been on vacation. Hey, Lon, you want to talk about?
Yes, there are outtakes.
I think there's some stuff. Yeah, we wrote a bunch of stuff.
Okay, cool. I was involved in this one at the very beginning, and then got back yesterday and saw
right.
Yeah. So Lon, tell me about what you think about.
It's new for you.
And
these are huge. This was a really pivotal film series for me. Like, I know it's an age thing, so a lot of our viewers probably caught these like much later, and I caught these late. Like, I wasn't watching them in like the theater. I was too young. But
right.
But yeah, I as a kid, I really avoided horror. I thought I wouldn't like horror movies. They were going to be just dark and weird and scary, and I liked comedies. So even like Beetlejuice I enjoyed, like that kind of fringe stuff on the edge, but not just straight up horror. And these were really the movies where I was like, oh, okay, it's like fun, it's like silly, it's accessible, it's still going to be for me. So especially Army of Darkness, but Evil Dead 2 as well. And then I didn't go back until much later and watch the first one even. But yeah, so that's really where they kind of fit in for me. I feel like it was these movies, maybe the Friday the 13th series and Child's Play that were like a young Lon's introduction to like, horror's not necessarily so bad. Come with us.
I saw, because I knew about my introduction to Bruce Campbell was in Xena.
Yes, sure.
And so then from there I saw Army of Darkness. And then I saw the first two Evil Dead movies. But I think the important thing for me was the realization that you could just make a movie.
Right.
I think Evil Dead drove that home for me even more than, say, like Clerks did. Because, I don't know, maybe something about the dialogue of Clerks and Mallrats, maybe even that, like, top shelved it too much for me, where it was just like,
right.
How do you write in this modern Shakespeare prose, Kevin Smith? But Evil Dead to me was like, oh wait, they just tied a camera to a plank?
Right. Well,
That's
Evil Dead has that, yeah. Like Clerks, not to fade the great Kevin Smith, it's amazing he was able to do that with the resources that
Absolutely.
he had. But but it doesn't feel like a DIY crafting challenge. It feels like I wrote these hilarious lines of dialogue for my friends and I'm going to like figure out a way to put it in a movie. Whereas, Evil Dead feels like there's it was innovative. Like these people had to go into the woods and really like hand make a lot of this stuff and figure out how to do it, and the practical effects and whatever. Like that's what makes it in some ways so impressive, is that it doesn't just feel like a student film. It feels like a real living, breathing, exciting, dynamic movie.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is, because obviously the story around like Clerks and Mallrats, and Kevin Smith had to max all of his credit cards and do his thing, and Robert Rodriguez has published books on making mariachi and how they did it and stuff like that. But for me, Raimi's Evil Dead stuff and just like the hellish year or two of trying to make the second one and stuff like that, Sam and his buddies seeing this thing to the bitter end, it just really always stuck with me. Maybe more so than those guys for some reason. And just that can-do spirit of we're going to make this damn thing or it's going to kill us.
It's also now, and I mean, all these guys, Rodriguez, Smith, Raimi, the Coen brothers working with them on some of this early stuff. It's a bygone era now, because now you don't need to go to these kinds of lengths to make a movie. You've got, a lot of movie making equipment fits in your phone, and we've all got it on our laptop. And again, not to fade today's brilliant innovators who are doing awesome stuff, and like this thing is not dead at all. It's ongoing. There's lots of great, awesome stuff being done every day. But this particular era where it was like this big gear in the woods and figuring out how to like really make, like if you were going to have special effects, it wasn't like figuring out how to get the money together to send to Manila so those guys can animate it. It was like build a thing that's going to make the blood gush, or like, how do we knock this tree down so it looks like the demon has done it, or like getting the bookcase to fall on Bruce Campbell and look just right. And like those kinds of challenges are sort of relics of another time in filmmaking.
Oh yeah, and even just like the learning curve you see happen. In the first one, it's like, oh, real glass is breaking, and that's dangerous. And by the second movie, we figured out how to not put us in so much danger.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, especially for folks our age, there's just such a big impact from these three movies.
Yeah, I also think Raimi does a very like savvy thing in some ways, where he brings you in. The movies make you feel like you're on the inside of like a secret. Like they feel like in some ways like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think, has that same feeling of like, it's like you're sharing in a secret when you watch, especially the first Evil Dead. It's like you've unearthed this thing, this weird item, and especially the way that one sort of leads into two, where you get this like weird quick summary of the first one, and then okay, here's like the next day, and then Army of Darkness just takes the whole concept and pivots it off into this bizarre new direction that you only get if you watch the end of Evil Dead 2. I think it's clever in this way that he's like making you. It's sort of the opposite of what like the Marvel movies do, where it's like the whole world's going to watch this movie on the same day, which is cool in its own way, but. Yeah, Raimi stuff, it almost feels like you're finding something deep in the video vault that you weren't meant to find.
That's a great way of putting it. It's finding all these weird puzzle pieces. Like, being introduced to these movies was like... Because also, when we were... God, I feel old and stupid. But like, it was chances were your video store had one of them. Had one of three. And so it really felt like, over a period of time, you were on this scavenger hunt, and childhood, Lon, wasn't it great?
Yeah, to take it even further back to stuff like you kids, Army of Darkness had so many different cuts. Like in the early, in the VHS and then the early DVD era, even if you got a copy of Army of Darkness, you weren't quite sure which version. Like there's the bootleg cut, the director's cut, and then this cut. Like there's like 8 different versions of it. So you would always be like, I don't know if I've seen this scene before. It was like,
it truly is kind of our Blade Runner.
Yes, right. It's one of those movies, yeah.
Well, let's jump into the honest trailer for the Evil Dead movies.
From the love child of Tim Burton and Pee Wee Herman.
When we made Evil Dead, I wanted to do something that...
Who's produced so much cool stuff throughout his career, but a whole generation only knows him for directing the Spider-Man memes.
Pizza time.
Comes the mind-blowing trilogy that was making you laugh and scream at the same time, long before he cast Topher Grace as Venom.
I like being bad. It makes me happy.
The Evil Dead franchise. Strap in for 3 excellent...
Did we ever consider putting the newer, the reboot movie in here?
No, I don't think we did.
Like we're holding that in case one day we ever want to do just the new version.
Yeah, because there was it was a bandwidth thing for the show. There are only so many of us right now, and things are so crazy that we just didn't have time to I love Ash vs. Evil Dead. I think it's fantastic. If you haven't watched it, you have to.
The show, obviously, I feel like is its own beast, but I was just saying, like, the new movie, the Fede Alvarez Evil Dead,
which
I 2013.
I didn't hate it. I need to rewatch it because I
rewatched it when we wrote these just for myself, just so in case I wanted to write a joke about it or something. No,
I have found that I have started mixing it up with the Blair Witch remake.
Yes, which is Adam Wingard.
Yeah, so I need to rewatch both of them as well. But yeah, I think it was just always going to be these three.
It really is. That 2013 one is disgusting. Like, it is gory in a way that almost no movies, mainstream movies, are gory today. Like rewatching it, you're like, oh, I forgot. Oh my goodness. Like,
I'm not old enough to see this.
Yeah, like, oh, this is pushing the envelope. Because like that's the original trilogy, they're super bloody and gory as well, especially the first one. But it's such an over the top, cartoonish way that it's almost like not disturbing at all.
Although it's interesting to go back and read up, and when this got purchased and stuff like that, and the poster came out, like studios were like, "Ugh, this is too much." And you go back and watch these now, and you're like, "How? What?"
Yeah, I mean, the first one, when it was still like roughly serious in tone, like there are some disturbing scenes, even though it's so kind of handmade that it's hard to take that seriously. But by 2, it's full blown Chuck Jones logic. Like you can't really, it's not scary. Yeah. It's just kind of silly.
Well, let's continue.
That was my
Strap in for 3 excellent flicks that barely hang together as an actual trilogy. Evil Dead 1, where some dumb teens drive all the way from Michigan to the worst little Airbnb in Tennessee. Evil Dead 2, a half remake, half parody of the first one, with the ratio of horror to comedy swapped. And Evil Dead 3, which is called Army of Darkness, but a direct sequel to Evil Dead 2, and is really more like a medieval times Three Stooges movie. They're all great in their own ways, though. Consistencies for nerds. Bruce Campbell stars as this handsome piece of ash. He's got a chin like a clenched fist, and a literally handy chainsaw. Our hero will begin the trilogy as one of the more dumb and cowardly leading men in film history.
Hit her! Hit it!
Unable to overpower even the nearest shelving unit, until he goes through so much head trauma over the course of 2 films.
We didn't add any of these sound effects
into Duke Nukem.
Come get some.
Groovy. Give me some sugar, baby.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hail to the king, baby.
Evil will rise.
So pause. Let's talk about Bruce a little bit.
Sure. Well, we should also note right off the top, in response to all the commenters, like we know that Duke Nukem borrowed from Ash, not the other way around. We're just making the comparison in a humorous way. We're not implying it's like a ripoff. We know it's not a ripoff.
We knew the flood was coming.
Yeah, I mean, like sometimes you're just like, well, I want to make the joke, even though people are gonna obviously misinterpret and make it seem like we're saying Ash is a ripoff of Duke Nukem, which obviously we're not saying.
We've been alive this whole time and are aware of anyway. Man, Bruce Campbell's so good. He's so funny, and I think he, in a way, almost got punished for making his own path. Does that make any sense? Like, dude got famous doing indie stuff with Sam Raimi. He didn't go through the system, and he got branded as this B-movie schlot guy, and he is, but he's the king of it. He's one of the best.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there is a different path where Bruce Campbell could have become more of like a mainstream actor. Like he's good. He could do a good performance. He could be more subtle than he is in a lot of stuff. And yeah, he just became the B-movie horror guy because, this sort of perfectly set him up as that. Interestingly, after the first 2 Evil Deads, it might have been around the same time of Army of Darkness, he and Sam Raimi did a TV show called The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. that sort of rebranded him as like a cowboy kind of actor. And it could have led to a whole viable new thing, but the show didn't really make it, although it is terrific. I think if you are a Firefly fan, especially, I thought Firefly would bring a new round of interest into Briscoe County because it's like, how many sci-fi westerns are there? But it didn't really happen.
Cowboys.
But anyway, a great show that sort of hinted at the Xena jack of all trades direction that his career would sort of end up on. Although he was recently in a show called Lodge 49 on AMC that is amazing, and he's great on it, and everybody watched that one too.
But yeah, he's and also just I think he was one of the first. Or at least for me, like one of the first guys that really like got fan culture. He was the first celebrity Torland and I ever met. We went to a book signing at a Barnes and Noble in Nashville to get If Chins Could Kill signed. And
right, yes,
yeah. Like he asked my wife what her weapon of choice was, and she said ladle, and actually got a laugh out of him. And he was like, "What's your name?" And she was like, "Torlin." And he said, "Did you make that up?" And that's we've told that story for years. Yeah,
he was on that circuit. Like it used to be before cons were like these mega huge events. It was more like a circuit, and some celebrities would just go to different cities and do different cons, and that was kind of what they did in between projects. And he was one of those early guys that, like, if you were in Wichita and you went to like the fan convention, there was like only one that would come through once a year, and you get to go meet Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. Well,
and he's so great. I mean, what's so great about him in this trilogy in particular is that he starts as just one of the gang. Like when you were watching that first movie, it doesn't stand out to you that like it's about this guy. He's just one guy, but that happened to be this like amazing talent that could then they could spin that guy off into this whole crazy decades-long franchise, and he can like keep up with all the new ideas. Like that, the same guy from the first Evil Dead could carry Ash versus Evil Dead on Stars a few years ago. Is like, what a lucky break for Raimi and company.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those weird like creative. Is it fate? Like, sorry, I really like waxing poetic about stuff like this. But you look at Evil Dead versus Evil Dead 2, and it's like this weird confluence of who knows. It's like it's budget. Bruce was the only one who was like, yeah, I'm up. You're my best friend. Let's do it. And also happened to be like insanely talented as they were like slowly figuring out, as just all these things like came together. And I like that guy. Let's keep going.
Sure. Also, watch Maniac Cop, everybody. He's great in that too.
Baby. Hail to the king, baby.
Evil will rise when Ash stumbles across an ancient goth kid's sketchbook and accidentally plays a cursed podcast to summon the Deadites. They're part zombie, part vampire, and all sass.
We're gonna get you.
You're not gonna leave me here, are you? Are you, Ash?
I'm bad, Ash. And you're good, Ash.
As these demons resort to the one trick in their evil book, possess one of your loved ones. Then briefly pretend to be back to normal.
Unlock this chain and let me out.
Cheryl?
Please don't hurt me. I love you.
How does he keep falling for this?
Alloys and compositions and things with molecular structures in the...
All right, moron. Thrill at films that are as light on substance as they are heavy with style, as Sam Raimi turns on no-clip mode for his camera, running it through the woods. Like a lot. Smashing it through windows. Getting extremely close up. And doing basically whatever he thought looked fun and cool at the time, from the awesome gearing up montages.
Groovy.
To the constant decapitations. To having a tree sexually assault a woman. Twice! Moving on. So enjoy these classic drive-in movies, passed down through the generations of cool older siblings and weird uncles, that proves you didn't need huge budgets and movie stars to make an awesome film. In fact, you didn't even really have to know how to make a film to make an awesome film. Focus! Just your old car, your high school buddy, and enough red-dyed corn syrup to flood the eastern seaboard. Man, I cannot wait to see him do this to Benedict Cumberbatch. Stupid, clean-faced, handsome man. Starring Ash Killam, Deuce Campbell, Burn After Reading, I Am Groot, Thing, Lord Mullet of Bowl Cut, Blandolph,
This is Halloween. This is Halloween. Halloween. Halloween.
But Bill, these are historical babes. And
I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to choke my face.
the Deadass Chainsaw Massacre. The scariest part of these films is when Bruce Campbell comes this close to getting canceled.
It's an N-word. It's definitely an N-word. It's definitely an N-word.
Careful.
Hey, and the nice thing is we were all in because I was rewatching this while on my time off, and because we always watch it for Halloween, and I was like, "Oh man, he almost gets canceled there. I should send that to the guys," but I didn't need to.
No, that was not. I don't know who noticed that. I did not pick up on that one.
Well, then
I was proud to get Bill. Those are historical babes in there.
Those are historical babes.
And then he did the voice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So this one almost went a different direction. We can give you guys a little insider. We were chatting with the Chin himself a little bit about doing something with us a la Deadpool. Timing ended up not working out with like some shooting stuff and the voting campaign, the election day, blah 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 of it all.
It was a big week here in America. You may have heard about it. There was some stuff going on.
Might have heard about it, but super nice dude. And so yeah,
can we tell them what the bit was going to be? Can we divulge?
Yeah. So what I actually really liked about what the bit we were going to do is normally our celebrities show up at the end, and Spencer came up with the great idea of having him open this one, a la the introduction.
Right, the beginning of Army of Darkness, where he's like, "My name is Ash," and he like catches you up. Except he would do it as Bruce Campbell, like, "My name is Bruce. I made a couple Evil Dead movies. And now these guys are gonna make fun of him."
Yeah, so
it was pretty funny.
Yeah, and just like basically just an excuse to make him say things. Yes. Yeah, so it was going to be like, at the end, he was going to be like, featuring, and John would correct him, and then he would say, "I said your damn words.
You primitive screwheads." I just really wanted him to call us primitive screwheads.
Yeah, that was Lon's note for this.
It was like, could he call us primitive screwheads?
Please, it's a dream. So that ended up working out. But I still think the trailer came together pretty.
Yeah, no, I think it's fun. And honestly, these are people I find that people often ask us to do beloved movies, and it's fun sometimes like this, but it's really hard. It's way easier to do like Twister. Like something goofy and sort of dumb, has a lot of stuff you can pick up on. This you kind of have to like figure out a way to make fun of it, even though we all love it and it's great, which is pretty tricky.
Yeah, and I know that everyone, usually when we say something, people be like, "Do The Godfather," and we're like, "What do you want us to say?" And they're like, "You can say that you love it," and it's like, yeah, but I still have to make jokes somehow.
Right, we still have to figure out what's bad or cheesy or silly, or like, you still have to find material to pick on, and like, no movie's perfect. Like, there's always something you can pick on. And like this, when we were first coming up with what are we going to talk about, my main thought was like the inconsistency, which did end up making it. Like, that's a knock on the trilogy, even though I love it. It's like, well, no movie is like any of the other movies, even though it's one series.
Yeah.
But it's not as fruitful as like a bad movie. When we did the Kissing Booth, and it's like everything about this is a joke.
This is terrible. Yeah. Those
literally a nonstop 3.5 hour. Why is it 3.5 hours?
Yeah, Jesus. Oh God, it is. Let's get into
more than that, because the second one is over 2 hours long. It's insane.
Oh wait, do we have deleted stuff? I bet we do.
I thought so. We should have outtakes, right?
Let's do it. Let's watch
From Tim Burton on a slightly different mix of medications that he turns into Duke Nukem.
Hail to the king, baby.
Groovy. Come get some. Give me some sugar, baby.
I too would have had to travel centuries into the past before that line worked on a woman. Part vampire. Part Looney Tune. Starring the Necro-Comicon, Robin of Schloxley.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Tonight, you will be visited by 3 ghosts. Night of the Laughing Dead. The Mocking Dead. Cabin Stabbin'.
Stabbing cabin, isn't that?
I don't know. I wasn't here, but I liked it.
I have no idea what that. I washed my hands of that title.
That was a zero context one for me, and that
I wrote so many jokes for that floating head, like the Wizard of Oz one got in here, but I must have written 6 because that scene is so silly. I also had the psychic lady in the crystal ball from the Haunted Mansion. Like, yes. Send us a sign by ringing a bell. Like that, I think.
Let's get into some chat comments. Adam Holbert asks, does this trilogy work because the first is the weakest and gets better after that? I think this trilogy works because it's not a trilogy. Like, it doesn't matter. I think they were just screwing around and having fun. And that's why I think it works, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like the thread that unites these is it's Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell goofing around and doing what they want. And like they have this character, this rough concept that they like. But even the concept of the Deadites and what they want and how they work changes between the movies. I really think it's just kind of like Evil Dead is their horror grab bag. And so they're just whatever they want to play around with is what they put in that universe.
Yeah, because it's really not until, well, no, that's not true. They start.
I mean, Army of Darkness adds a ton to the mythology that's not in the other ones.
Yes.
And like, it's almost like he just wanted to make this like medieval fighting an army of skeletons comedy. And it was like, I could make this an Evil Dead thing, right? You know.
Yeah, which, oh God, he did. And I love it so much. Because even like the first one, it's like they do their standard scare tactics. And by Army of Darkness, they're all just this punch. Like,
right.
So yeah, they all continue to evolve. Yeah, I think it worked because it's only a trilogy because we've put that label on it.
I mean, it's like they're all tied together. It's like it's technically one big story, but it's not. They're not worried about like consistency in the way we think of a franchise. But I also would take issue with. I think they're all very different. But I don't think the first one is like a. I mean, it's obviously a more amateurish and it's like a beginner's movie, whereas he graduated and became a more experienced director. But I don't think the first movie is like bad. It's still a lot of fun to watch, and in some ways it's more impressive that he got that first one made than he was able to make something with all the resources of a studio behind.
Yeah, no, I agree. Prince Apupu says, but has anyone seen the TV show? I know that you and I have.
I have.
It's so good. It's really
I loved it.
Really so good. It made me sad that when it was over, they announced that he was retiring as playing the character. Because even if they did a volume 2 of the show and it had it was just something completely different with Ash, the same as the first Evil Dead movie versus Army of Darkness, and it was just like, I don't know, it's over here now. It's weird. We're doing an Escape from New York, but with Ash or something.
Yeah, right. I don't need to see him just fighting Deadites. He could fight whoever he wants, and I would be interested in it. You already have the Ash versus blank formatting, so yeah, I think that. Yeah, I liked it, and I thought, they did a very smart thing of it wasn't like he was totally sidelined and it's like have him pop up in the pilot and then it's these new characters. He's like part of the show, but it does also make time to expand the world. So it's not just the Bruce Campbell show. Like they brought in a lot of other good characters and people, and Lucy Lawless
was great. Yeah.
Right. So like that was a really smart thing that I think they balanced that really well, better than a lot of other like reunion nostalgia shows do.
I absolutely agree. Jamie Garcia asks, will Bruce Campbell do a cameo in Doctor Strange? You better.
I mean, yeah, right?
That was actually going to be our... I was going to say, that was actually going to be our bit if we got him to do it, was he was going to be like, now that we've got Evil Dead out of our system, I'll see you guys on the big screen as this Sorcerer Supreme. And then gets mad that he finds out that Raimi has not cast him.
It's going to be Benedict.
As such. But yeah, I hope he's just if all of this multiverse stuff's actually going to happen, I hope he just shows up as the Usher from the
Spider-Man. I was going to say he should reprise one of his Spider-Man cameo characters back in the new one, as long as it's all the Raimi cinematic superhero verse. Let's get Darkman in there. What's Liam Neeson up to? Nothing.
Yes. This is kind of an interesting question. We'll wrap on this one. Mupe1234, which is also the combination of my luggage, asks, would you suggest this for someone who's never seen them before? Yeah, I mean,
suggest this. Like, wait, would I suggest what? The movies?
Like the Evil Dead movies, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, of course.
I think so. Obviously, you know, you're not going to be able to sell them as like, this is the dopest horror movie you've ever seen. I think you sell them with the idea of, you know, the legacy around them and stuff like that. I think you could just show someone Army of Darkness and be good. Just be like, you want to see something hilarious?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going to go back through them, you got to explain, like, look, we're not just watching this. It's just like, hey, you want to check out this horror movie? Like, obviously, it is not a contemporary-looking horror movie in the first one. You know, so I feel like you would want to do that intro. But I do also think Evil Dead 2 is sort of designed to, like, you could just start watching here. Like, that's kind of why they do the first 7-minute prologue or whatever, is like, here's what happened. So I think, for a more modern viewer who's going to be thrown off by the kind of student film looking vibe of the first one, you could definitely just start with 2 and do Army of Darkness. But I mean, they're horror classics. If you want to be a completist and understand especially the sort of cabin in the woods subgenre of the horror genre, this one's got to be near the top of your list. It's, you know, it's an essential.
Yeah, and then if you're just a screwball comedy fan, I think Army of Darkness stands on its own, as it did for me.
I mean, it's just I mean, that one it really is a comedy primarily with like sort of a dark horror kind of theme, but in the same way, like Beetlejuice is a comedy, and it's like there's a supernatural element. But
and then and then if you're just interested in the art of movie making and stuff I think Sam Raimi is such a good introduction to what it means for a director to have their own visual toolkit, because his are so, you know, it's like Singer liked circles, and people will be like, do you see all the circles in Usual Suspects? And it's like, oh, okay, cool, but like Raimi, I feel like it's so stark and obvious, like his visual stamps and like how he likes to shoot stuff, and
for a contemporary movie fan, he was really one of those guys that was leading the way in terms of making movies look more like comic books and bringing a lot of that kind of style into movie making and making, you know, melding those two sort of forms. Like movies like these and Darkman and that first Superman movie, and like these are like formative texts for that. Like Burton too, we mentioned in this trailer, was another one of those guys.
Yeah.
And so it's worth going back and looking at some of these movies just to see how what we're doing today that seems so second nature when, you know, like a Ryan Coogler does it, like where all of that sort of started and kind of comes from.
Yeah. Well said, sir. And I don't know, randomly, for some reason we watched the Hobbit trilogy this week. I don't know, maybe because we're feeling very hopeful and optimistic after the election, and I don't trust Joy, so I wanted to balance myself out. But
I still like those movies. They're not as good as the Lord of the Rings movies. I understand. It's disappointing to take a step down when the standard has been set so high. But I still enjoy it.
I think you responded to me on Twitter, but I'm convinced that Raimi could have done a really great Hobbit trilogy.
Well, no argument for me. I mean, Guillermo del Toro was going to do it, and I thought that was an amazing choice. Raimi would be an awesome choice. There's lots of people. Like, to me, that's the sort of thing. It's like, why are we not just going to make more? Like, just do it again. Like, they're great stories.
Not?
Just
who cares?
Everybody's all set on this idea that once you've done it, it's like, well, that's done. You know, any other Lord of the Rings thing will just bother me because it's not Peter Jackson. It's
just do it again.
Just be like, make a friggin' 100 of them, man. I just want to see more Smaug.
Yeah, every 5 years we do them again.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't need
now
context.
Bard the Bowman is Bruce Campbell in my head, and just facing down Smaug and saying, "First you want to burn me, now you want to bite me, blow," and then shooting the black arrow. Come on, would have been gold.
Let's do it.
Let me see. Do we got any more?
Also, if in the Guillermo version is that, I guess it's Ron Perlman.
No, it was. I thought it was. He was going to be bear guy, Bjorn. Apparently.
Oh,
which
sure.
also would have been cool. Which also
that makes that reads all right. That tracks.
Well, that is Lon and I waxing poetic on the Evil Dead films. Let us know what your favorite Sam Raimi thing is in the comments. We want to hear from you guys. Also, we're calling out this month to Stack Up. They are an organization that helps veterans get through mental illness issues through gaming. And they're friends of ours. November is their big fundraising month, so we always are really proud to support them and spotlight them. They serve U.S. and allied service members, veterans, and civilians to assist in crisis intervention, suicide prevention, and mental health issues through gaming and community. We have a link in the description. Please check them out. They do a lot of really absolutely incredible work through fandoms and through pop culture and through all this cool stuff we consume. So please check them out. And let's see here. Next week's Honest Trailer, Lon, is it's not Mitten Box.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now I understand the pressure that Spencer feels every week. We will see you guys next week to talk about that trailer right here on Honest Trailer Commentaries. Bye, guys.